Okay. Welcome, everyone. We'll, back from closed session, we'll have the city attorney report out for us.
Thank you, Mayor. No reportable action from closed session. Direction was given to staff.
Sir.
Thank you.
Pledge of Allegiance. Vice Mayor Smith, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Stand together. Salute. Pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands.
Thank you, Eric. Welcome, everyone, to Oroville City Council meeting. Just a couple things to clear up. If you need to use the restroom, it's down the hall. The door you came in is an exit. That's also an exit in case we have to leave the building for some particular reason, like an earthquake or something along those lines, just from a safety message. And if we need to call the police department, we'll let the police chief take care of that issue. And if we have to evacuate the room, we're going to have Mr. Patrick P. out, make sure everyone's out of the building if we have to leave the building. So just a short safety message for our meeting. Next item is correction or changes to the agenda. Any? Any recusals on the agenda from council members?
Can't afford it.
That's right. We have a minimum quota tonight. I open for adoption of the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Hardy.
Motion passed 4 yes, 3 absent.
Thank you. Next item, we have presentations and proclamations. First item is a presentation from Cindy Danaloop regarding the Any Given Child program. Cindy, welcome. There you go, you're on.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, good evening, Mayor and council members. I'm Cindy Danaloop, Executive Director of the State Theater Arts Guild, and I'm joined by Jennifer Spangler, Arts Coordinator for Butte County Office of Education. Thank you. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to speak this evening about ensuring the arts for any given child. Just a little bit of history. BCOE applied for the Ensuring the Arts for Any Given Child in spring of 2020. The City of Oroville and other local organizations wrote letters of support, and in the fall of 2021, Butte County joined 2 other counties in California who are now part of the large AGC national network. We committed to supporting 3 local districts, Thermalito, Oroville Elementary, and Plural Union Elementary, to bring arts back into the schools. The initial community planning meetings were held via Zoom during COVID, and we focused on funding opportunities. But then in November of 22, the Prop 28, Arts and Music in the Schools Funding Guarantee and Accountability Act passed, which eased the need for AGT funding to bring arts and music professionals into the schools. So we then turned our focus to creating the connections between the schools, museums, and local businesses to provide quality education experiences. Here was the AGC kickoff press conference that we had, where all of the superintendents were there, along with Mary Sakuma, the county superintendent, and Chuck Reynolds as mayor. So here's a summary of the Any Given current arts and field trips opportunities that we currently coordinate. We offer a 3rd grade Chinese Temple Museum trip, 4th grade for the Pioneer Museum, 5th grade for the Dream Big Music Festival, and a K-8 public art show at the Oroville State Theater. We would like to grow this program and create an experience for each of the elementary grades. So we wanted to give you a little bit of example of how this works now. It's an all-inclusive, quality educational field trip experience. So we're trying to combine multiple factors so that it's not just going to a museum or going to the theater or going for something else. And so First of all, the educational standards criteria has been developed, and it's now available on the State Theater stage website. And so that way, teachers who are looking for a field trip, they have all the information that will justify why that's a valid educational field trip. Then we coordinated with museum staff, and they create field trip plans and training documents. And so this was the training documents that the museum staff, Vanessa, made for the Chinese temple. We had homework, we had to read it, and it was extremely helpful because, you know, every bit of it allowed us to come in and do a quality docent opportunity for the kids in the field trip. So I just wanted to let you guys know what they're doing with some of their time. Then also, so we coordinated Friends of the Park, the docents from the Chinese temple, they donated money, and we purchased these bags of books, and these were taken to each of the classrooms that were offering the field trip, and that
cool.
happened like in January, so they could incorporate it into their lessons.
Very cool.
And then they also, they met with the art teachers ahead of time or coordinated with them so that they would create some type of art project that then they would choose and it would be displayed at the Chinese temple. Also, Quinn, the museum assistant, he went to each of the schools and they did about a 20-minute presentation, and part of it was preparing the children for how to behave in a museum, but also talking about prepping, you know, what they would be experiencing at the museum. And I know for the Pioneer Museum, when he did that last week, the kids stayed after and went over all the artifacts, and they were so excited to see him, they asked him if he would dress up, and he did. So very much connected with the children.
That's cool.
They created, at the Chinese temple, they created a shadow puppet activity, and the kids were able to get involved in it. And so each of the stations had something that was just a little bit of history and then a little bit of a hands-on activity so that they didn't get bored. And there were typically 4 stations at each of these so that the field trip lasted about an hour. And then there's the display of the artwork, and then that was also there for all of Lunar New Year and, you know, the Lunar New Year that was open to the public. So then Any Given Child, we had our banner up there during that period, and there's Vanessa with Ann Chamberlain. And I think the thing that made me the most proud is unsolicited, one of the teachers from Helen Wilcox, a 3rd grade teacher, she sent us an email afterwards, and it read, "The field trip to the Chinese temple was one of the most organized field trips we've attended. All 6 classes had nothing but great things to say about it. Kids, teachers, and parent volunteers as well.
That's
It was
cool.
the perfect mix of learning combined with just enough hands-on activities. We appreciated the docent presentation beforehand, the books, and the amazing art Ms. Michaela did with our students." So it was really rewarding that all of our efforts as we had met and put it together, that they recognized all the pieces were there. And so this is what we would like to continue to grow for each of the grades. And I want to let you know, the quality of these field trips would not be possible without the strong partnerships that we have. Museum staff have elevated that experience through their active participation, and we hope to expand these opportunities to more students in grade levels, but doing so will require the continued support from all of our community partners.
Well, thank you,
Thank
Cindy. Yeah, very good.
And as Cindy mentioned, I'm Jennifer Spangler, and I was, or am, one of the partners involved with ensuring the arts for any given child. BCOE was one of the initiating partners, and we're extremely proud to stay involved and that we were able to bring this now into its 5th year. It has had an impact. As you may be wondering what's going to happen to the Kennedy Center partners, and you've probably been reading a little bit about a closure that's scheduled for July. Well, that is just going to be the Performing Arts Center. So we believe that the National Arts Education Partnership Program will continue after July, but we haven't heard definitively, but that's what we're planning. They've been an important partner in providing technical support and coming out and giving us a good credibility and stature. So I'm talking, as Cindy said, because I was involved with the museums as a partner 4.5 years ago, and I wanted to inform you about the significance of the partnership and the significance of the professional staff that you have on board now. And I know that you've got a lot of decisions to make about a myriad of things, but I just wanted you to consider the information that we're going to provide when you're thinking about funding and support for these museums. Early on, we identified the interest in collaborating with the local museums to provide live arts experiences for students. That's one of the main strategies of the Kennedy Center to encourage more or expand more arts education in the schools. We looked at partnering with museums in Chico, and they were very interested, but the distance and the expense was discouraging for some of our schools. And so we, after Heather McCafferty was hired by you all as the first full-time curator in a long time, I was very excited to work with her. And BCOE was able to obtain a grant and bring in the arts education professor from Chico State to develop a teacher guide for the Pioneer Museum, the first of its kind in recent history for the museum. It went extremely well. Heather was a really capable curator, and so we developed the guide. It included arts lessons as well as information on California history, which is a subject for the 4th and 5th grades. And we did a docent training, and then Heather left. And there wasn't a replacement for a number of months, and we were not able to line up any field trips as a result. I know that the museums have depended on volunteers for a long time, and they've been amazing, dedicated people. However, volunteers don't provide the stability and promise to be able to schedule field trips, which often have to happen a year in advance. So nothing came of that. Then Hannah Thompson was hired, another delightful, qualified young curator. And so we jumped in to create a field trip opportunity with an art lesson at the Chinese Museum. Worked on this, recruited two school classes to be able to participate, and then Hannah left, and we were left with a kind of what was it called? A lot of chaos, because it required the AGC folks to try to fill the gap to make sure we could fulfill the commitment to these two classes that we already committed to. I know, it was called controlled chaos, because we had to rely on city staff as well to let us in and to collect the artwork, and it came off, but it was not something we would want to repeat. Then in July, Vanessa came, and it's been a dramatic change. It went from a lot of confusion to consistency, reliability, quality, and much more demand from teachers to participate in our offerings at the Pioneer Museum and at the Chinese Museum Temple. We were able to bring 12 classes and 264 students through the Chinese Museum program in January. And then we just completed our Pioneer experience, which resulted in 5 4th grade classes and 86 students. But we only started signing them up in January. So with the reliability and consistency of the staff who are there now, we've already started to talk to teachers who want to sign up for next year. But we can't really make those commitments unless we're assured that there's professional staff in place who we can work with. I just, in my humbleness, want to describe the team that you have there now as the dream team. This is not an easy thing to put together, as you've seen by those folks that you hired and who left. I was a director of the Chico Museum for 6 months, and I know how challenging it is to have committed professionals involved with these museums when they're paid a little bit below market, and Vanessa herself moved here to Oroville and is, committed to really putting whatever it takes into bringing the museums even to a baseline, which they're not quite at yet, but I think that that's in sight. Finally, I want to say that for the Chinese New Year celebration, Vanessa did an outstanding job promoting the Lunar New Year celebration to Chico. And I'm from Chico, and I was at the museum facilitating the shadow puppet station, and dozens of folks I know from Chico were there, and they'd never been before to the temple or to the New Year celebration. So I have to just plant this seed that I do believe that economic development could be a goal associated with vitalizing these facilities. The folks come here, they enjoy it, they spend money, they come back, they spend more money, they're introduced to the wonderful things that are going on in downtown Oroville and other places. So I think that there's a lot of wins that could come from continued investment and attention to these facilities. Thanks a lot for your time.
Thank you very much. I will agree with you about the lunar celebration that occurred. I had interesting conversations with two Chico City councilmen that
There you go.
were at this and wondered how come we had so many museums. I said we have a lot of museums for our per capita. So
Yes.
we appreciate your words about the new staff, and it's very well received. We thank you for coming and spending the time with it. So Vice Mayor Smith is in the queue for a question.
Yeah, no, I just want to applaud all of your efforts. I think immersing our young people in art, culture, history is absolutely essential in their development and their appreciation of the world and how things work. And, someone once said that it's hard to plot a course as to where I'm going unless I understand from where I'm from, right? And so I think that provides, a platform for our young people. So I applaud your effort, and I am extremely committed to making sure that, the momentum that the council has developed in hiring quality staff, though it's, as you pointed out, maybe, we need to work on that some more, right? But to further support it. But for me, I think it's absolutely essential, and that positions Oroville in a very unique place in the support of that, in the development of our young people, and becoming which I believe we're already a special place, but even more special, or enhancing those uniquenesses that we have here. So thank you.
It was created about 100 years ago.
Yeah, it does.
It's that product place, and it makes them see things, allows them to see things. So, yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
I kind of wish we had a video of the small kids walking into the moon room at the Chinese temple. It's a circular entrance, and it kind of gives you a little different perspective. But I watched those kids step very carefully, like, oh, is this a big deal? So it was fun. Yeah, thank you. We appreciate your presentations. Thank you very much, ladies.
Thank you. Curious, what are the age ranges of the children that participate?
Well,
And,
so at the Chinese temple, we focus on 3rd grade,
okay.
and then at the Pioneer Museum, it was 4th and 5th grade. Because they do a unit on California history, and 3rd grade does a unit on local history. So that's how we are connecting them to the Chinese
Excellent.
immigration experience.
That's very good. Thank you.
We do have one public speaker for this
Oh.
item. Sarah Comodi.
Oh, welcome, Sarah.
Thank you. Hello, Councilmember Andrew. My name is Sarah Carmody, and I am a current graduate student at CSU Chico in the Museum Studies program. And currently I'm working on my thesis, and I've had the opportunity to interview multiple people who have been involved in the Any Given Child program. And I see immense value in this program. I'm very excited to publish my findings on the success of this program. And I have been talking with my professors at the school, and we have a very large amount of graduate students and undergraduate students who are interested in studying museums. And Oroville has 5 museums that are just 20 minutes away from us. And we have a lot of students who are very interested in doing internship opportunities here in the city of Oroville. And that wouldn't be possible without a well-educated staff member such as Vanessa. I've talked with Vanessa multiple times. She is everything that I aspire to be as a young museum professional. She is embodying everything that I've been taught at Chico State, and it's so amazing to see it in action. And we have plans as a group of graduate students to come and visit the Chinese temple with Vanessa and to be able to look at the collection. And I just see so many opportunities for Chico State students to come here and work with the collection and work with the community and have just a space to grow as young professionals. And especially in rural California, these relationships are so important. This is so important for our students in this community who are very underserved when it comes to museum experiences and experiential learning in the classroom. I just want to commend these ladies. I think they've done an amazing job, and I'm very excited to have met them. And I will be publishing my thesis, and hopefully this will be reaching a broader audience at Chico State. And you guys have a lot of support from Chico.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you. So I have a question. Did I miss something? Because there's at least 8 museums in Chico. Yes.
5. So I was told the Chinese.
No,
That's Oroville.
in Chico.
Oh, in
And
Chico.
you,
Oh,
yes.
gosh. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm nervous.
You're doing great.
Yeah, in Oroville. I'm sorry, ma'am.
No, that's all right.
No, that's cool. Well, I'm going to ask about our internship program. It sounds like we have volunteers wanting to enter into that. Do we have any needs to create that? I'm looking at the city administrator. You're good to go? I'm glad you showed up because there's been a lot of words said about you, Vanessa.
Absolutely. Replay.
Yeah. Well, thank you all. We appreciate that, and it's good to hear what we've got going on here. So, and thank you, Chico State. We look forward to all the interns to come and share their time with us. Appreciate it very much.
Can I just revisit? Because so I was talking about the museums in Chico, and there are at least 8. And so so is there a challenge with internships there? Is the field inundated? What?
It's a challenge for Chico State
Uh-huh.
to get internships. Period.
Okay.
I think a lot of cultivate students in the way that professors would like to see. And so there is a little bit of a barrier, especially as a student going to apply for internships. I might not have someone who's on staff who's as qualified as, say, Vanessa.
All right.
Has years of experience.
That's good information to know. That's why I was asking. Thank you. All right.
Well, and most of the museums in Chico are not all operated by the city of Chico. They're separate entities, so they're very different.
Many of them are private, and it does not mean that they are museum professionals. They could be run by a private nonprofit who
Sure.
does not know the best practice for museums.
Right.
All right.
But very good. I appreciate that. I know one of our museums is closed right now for some structural issues, the Bolt Museum.
Bolt
So
Museum.
we're hoping to have that
Yeah.
repaired soon.
I actually was a volunteer there before I decided to go to grad school.
Okay.
Wow.
All right.
All right.
Excellent to hear that. Thank you very much. Yeah. Okay,
Thank you.
next item is, I hate to change the subject, we've enjoyed it so much. Number 2, the investment update. Brian? Oh, here he is. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, guys. Good evening, council. On, the investment account.
We'll let you introduce yourself for the rest of the body.
Ryan Midkiff,
Yeah,
All right, Sister Connie.
there he goes.
all right, I'm Ryan Midkiff. I'm the financial advisor that's assisting you guys with the investment account. And I'm the mayor of Rise, or Building Bridges Financial. So we started this journey back in 2023. We started with 10 million with just doing CDs, and then we did another 10 million in 2024 with U.S. Treasuries. The current value of the account is sitting at 22.4 million. And the current yield on the CDs that we have currently is 4.32%. And the current yield on
What was that number?
4.32.
Thank you.
And then the US Treasuries were sitting at a 4.24% yield. And it's about a 50-50 split, so we're yielding about 4.28. And looking at, comparing like to the LAIF account that I looked at online, like right now, it looks like for Q1 of 2026, it looks like the yield was 3.9. So there is some outperformance there, which is a good thing. And, it's kind of a, with like the differences between like what we can do in LAIF is, when we get an interest rate, we're locked in the rate. So if it's a 5-year period, at least we're locked in for that period, so we're not subject to interest rate risk. And with everything that's going on in the world, LAIF is subject to that interest rate risk. When we had COVID in 2020, rates, dumped to, 0.5%. And then you had rate hikes come back up, into the 4.5% range. And then you have what's going on with the war and stuff like that, so you have some volatility in rates. So I think there is risk doing that, so I think it's a good like diversification pool to kind of split it, if that makes sense.
Gotcha.
So as far as an update goes, I mean, that's pretty much all that I have for you guys regarding that stuff. You guys
We have a question from Vice Mayor Smith.
Yeah, you semi-answered that, because I know that those rates were contractually set, and there are specified periods of time.
Yep.
So just in that process of communicating with our financial director, there may be times when it makes more sense to have a shorter period versus a longer period. So, or is there the rule so tight because these are government dollars? Is the acronym you used was LAIF, I believe?
Yeah, the LAIF account, so that's what
Yeah.
the account, like your guys is like, it's more like liquid in a sense. And that's, it's diversified into a bunch of different things. And from your guys' investment policy, the only things that I can use are basically CDs and US Treasuries. So I just basically, when the opportunity comes, I just try to find the best rate available, and that's what I look for.
Okay. And then, so what's the longest period of time when those locks last?
And max is 5 years.
It's 5 years. So then that percentage is set at that.
Right.
But it's not subject to the volatility then?
That is not, no. I
Right.
mean, when we are going to buy, it is subject to what the rates are at that point in time. But when, in that 5-year period of when things are going on in the world and, rates are adjusting, then essentially, basically, you're locked in at that rate. What was I gonna say? Sorry.
No worries. I was just, just making sure that there's, because we had a kind of a period of time, it was like, what's going on with those, investment accounts? And
Oh, I didn't know what I was gonna say. So when
Okay.
we started initially, we did some like latering, which is basically like, oh, we bought some at 5 years, some at like 3 years, some at a year. And then since, some of them come due, we're just going 5 years out because now they're kind of like it's like a wheel that's coming, like some are coming in a year because we started off with the latering and different periods are kind of coming through every 5 years.
well, because when we started out, interest rates were still on the lower side. Now, obviously, they've gone up.
Well, when we started, we were on the higher side, and then when we started this
Paring back.
process, yeah. And
Okay.
then in 23 and 24 is when they kind of peaked out. And then, since then, they've been starting to do cutting, and then now with, like the war and stuff, there's like, oh, are they gonna start lifting rates again? But like, who knows, like, things change day by day, it seems like, so.
Okay.
Okay, great.
All right. Any questions from council? Any other comment cards?
Could we withdraw all of our monies without penalty?
It's subject to like whatever the market is at. So I will say the principal value does fluctuate on that. So it's like when I say like, oh, the account value is at 22.4 million, that's like what it's at during that day. But the plan is we want to hold things until they mature. Because like you could essentially like have something like at a premium, but you're missing out on, potential interest payments that, if there's like 4 years worth of interest payments that you're willing to get, but like, oh, we can sell it at like a $10,000 premium, it just doesn't make sense. Unless like, obviously the funds were needed for some reason.
Right.
I might ask Ruth to give us a comparison to other cities and how Does this make us strong, good, medium? What do you think?
We can do that.
Say that again?
I said we can do that. We can look into that.
Okay, all right, appreciate that. Thank you, sir.
I think with this, though, this is more, correct me if I'm wrong, Ruth or Ryan, but this is more, we have these funds in more, I would say, longer terms, but again, they're 1, 3, and 5 year staggered, and we have the other dollars that were in our LAIF / now quasi-LAIF account,
Right.
which are more,
Right.
they have more liquid
Okay.
ability.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay,
Want to jump to that public hearing?
how many cards do we have for public non-agendas?
We had 3.
3? And we'll do the public agendas real quick, then we'll go to the public hearing. We have a public hearing that was scheduled earlier, and we're gonna have it right after the non-agenda items. So let the cards go first. Nancy, go ahead.
We have Rhonda McNewson.
Rhonda, come on up.
After that, we'll have Lori Lynn.
Hello, everyone.
Welcome, Rhonda.
I understand that it is your intent to start criminalizing them even further with your new laws and what have you. But it is also, to my understanding, from my experience personal, that you have some shelters that are doing things that are incorrect. Like the one down below here. For many years, this has been your only shelter here. And in that shelter, they decided to get their biggest bang for their money. They intertwined a pedophile program, or a 290 program. And then they also included a drug program, as with the homeless program. This is all a good thing, it should have been. But what they did is they put the 290 program and the drug program in charge of the homeless program. And to my experience with Annie Terry, her words to me exact was, her and her husband thought it was a good idea to let the homeless run the homeless. That's an oxymoron from I don't even know where. So if you want to start punishing these people for their actions in their lives and so on and so forth, you need to go and ask Annie Terry what her thought process was behind that. And it gets even worse. She's known for years what it was doing. And it was not in the best interest of her moneymaker to do otherwise. Then you go to Chico, and you find out why an employee for 5 solid years was stealing medications and kicking elderly people to your street. Then you also stop there, and you ask them why 18-year-old girls are being removed to a hell instead of a bed because they're crying too much. Or better yet, you go to your police department in your DA and all this BS and that BS, and you ask them why they have spent all these years driving these people from these damn streets into the woods where you're going to say, hey, don't be there either. They got no damn place to go. But if you put your services in the right place, you might find they do. Have a nice evening, people.
Thank you, Rhonda. Next?
Next is Lonnie Lynn.
Lonnie Lind.
Follow
Hello,
along
Lonnie.
is Pelmer Horn.
Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, Council and Mr. Mayor and Vice Mayor. I wanted to come and update you as to the status of fluoride. Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, you were both there on Friday, so you're ahead of the game a little bit. But our plan with removing fluoride from the drinking water system at Cal Water in Oroville has been to discontinue fluoridation in April, early mid-April, and then move toward flushing the remainder of it out of the rest of the dead ends and the rest of the neighborhoods by the end of the month. So we ran out of fluoride at the end of the week last week, and we're joined by the mayor and others to turn off the fluoride injection system, and we will be proceeding at the end of this week and beginning of next week with flushing the fluoride out of the rest of the system, and from there on out, we're done.
So,
Thank you.
thank everybody.
Lonnie, real quick, what was it, a 2-year process?
At least.
Yes, a 2-year process to get the PUC to consider the wishes of the community. That's,
Yes, I was thinking about that recently, though. I think you need to give yourself a lot of credit because
Patience.
this was a 70-year process. And it wasn't the first time this discussion had been brought up.
right.
So the 2 years was a small drop in the bucket comparatively.
Yeah.
It's also impressive too, as we were in the room where the fluoride is dispensed, there is, fluoride in that room. The concrete in that room is coming up. I mean, the fluoride is not a nice material. It was
Very
caustically
caustic.
damaging the concrete in that room, so we no longer have it in our water supply. So thank you very much. We appreciate that.
Thank you.
All right.
Next is Palmer Horn.
Welcome, Tom.
Palmer,
Or Thomas.
Palmer.
Oh, Palmer, excuse me. Thank you.
I got you.
Yeah, she shot me. Thank you.
I'm just going to pray over the city and you guys real quick.
Thank you.
All right. Dear Lord, Heavenly Father, we just thank you for today, Lord. We just thank you for this beautiful city and the men and women that you placed in positions, Lord. And I just pray that you continue to bless them with the wisdom and discernment needed to do their responsibilities, Lord. Lord, I just pray that as we're coming into the fire season, that you just put an extra hedge of protection around our first responders and just let them know that their sacrifice of their time and their safety doesn't go unnoticed and that it is appreciated, Lord. Lord, I'm just so grateful for this city and this country that we live in where I can do this without fear of being persecuted, Lord. I just pray for the teachers, Lord. We know that line of work is it's a work of love, Lord. So I just pray that you just be with the teachers and help them to further educate to help further educate our future. Lord, I just thank you for the beauty of your creation that's so easily found in our community, Lord. And speaking of community, I'm just so amazed by the people who are willing to sacrifice their time to come and see the due process of our city government, Lord. So I just pray that you continue to be with us and be with the businesses, and we just pray for as we continue to grow, we just pray that the businesses grow and employment opportunities continue to grow as well. We just love you and praise you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Thanks, sir.
That's all for the
That's
blue
all the
card.
cards we have. All right, I'm going to now move to item number 18, the public hearing that was scheduled for 4:30, and open the public hearing at, 5:20 or so. And welcome. I'll let you present.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Emily Martin. I'm a staff assistant with the City Planning Division. This item is the first reading of Ordinance 1896 regarding General Plan Amendment GPA 2602 and Zone Change ZC 2602 for two downtown properties located at 2020 Montgomery and 1453 Downer Street. This is a city-initiated request to change the zoning from public, quasi-public to downtown mixed use, aligning these parcels with the surrounding zoning pattern and supporting consistency within downtown. This change is intended to amend the zoning of both parcels to better reflect the existing and intended use of the properties, and both property owners are in agreement with the proposed rezone. The Planning Commission recommended approval, and staff finds the proposed change consistent with the general plan. We recommend that the council approve the proposed amendment and zone change, and I'm available for any questions.
Council have any questions of staff? Do we have any cards on this item for the hearing?
We do not, Mr. Mayor.
No cards for the hearing?
Ready for a motion?
So this would be any occasion now for any input on the ordinance itself, and if there is none, then staff will bring this back on consent for approval, waiver of second reading at the next meeting.
Sounds good.
Sounds good. By consensus, we simply have that. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Emily. Appreciate that. We'll close the public hearing at 5:25. And then I'm going to take mayor's privilege and move to item number 12.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Mayor, City Attorney, do we need to take those official actions, or is consensus okay? Do we waive the first reading and all the actions requested on the item?
Consensus is all right.
Okay,
It's
just
it's
making sure.
direction.
Thank
so
you,
we
appreciate that.
It's okay.
Item number 12. If we like, I'm going to move that up. It looks like we have some folks in the room. That item is a resolution acknowledging the vested rights of Pacific Coast producers as legally non-conforming. Who has this item?
This is my item, Mayor.
Oh, Pat, there you are. Thank
Mayor
you.
and council members. I want to make one correction from the resolution. It says that that it started in that location as a fruit canning processing company in 1971. It was actually 1914.
Okay.
So when you get the resolution to sign, Mayor, it will be corrected to say 1914.
Okay.
So they have been in operation as a canning business there since 1914. There has been a canning business working there since 1914. PCP, Pacific Coast Producers, purchased this in 1971. It had been operating ever since then. So they have, along the way, as we just saw with the last item, there was some zone changes that had happened, and so they would been changed over to a mixed use, mixed MXC designation, which is fine. They can stay there in perpetuity at that with that designation, but they've requested to just have council acknowledge by resolution that they do exist and they have the right to exist with their current operation as they have been ongoing for the last 100 years. So
this establishes a non-conforming legal use.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so, and they are here tonight. They're willing and able to ask questions if you have any. And so, but we'll leave it with that.
So you probably already told me, and I was eating an M&M. They've been grandfathered in since when?
Well, it first started there in 1914. So they've been operating continuously. There has been an operation there continuously as a fruit canning processing plant at that location. Pacific Coast Producers purchased it in 1971, has been operating consistently ever since then.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I think the zoning changed in 2015.
2009.
Okay.
They presetted zoning laws, period, when they started, so.
Yeah, that's right.
You're welcome to have any comments if you like.
Only this, and I'll stop real quick here.
Thank you, sir. Just introduce them.
Absolutely. My name is David Tembler. I'm with
Mike.
representing PCP, have for a number of years now.
Welcome, sir.
Thank you, much welcome. And let me just simply say thank you. Your staff, your city attorney, Pat Piott, Dave Ritchie have been working diligently with PCP, with our office, to really acknowledge their history and their existence. I thought it was fascinating, kind of the any given child item histories in the room today, and really this has been a wonderful exercise in history. As Pat has said, this operation started in 1914 and has gone through a number of different owners, but has been consistently a fruit processing operation. And so PCP has been the proud steward of the operation since 1971, almost, oh gosh, as old as I am, 54 years. And so we just thank you for considering this tonight. Again, it's an acknowledgement of PCP's vested rights to continue operating. I think that's very clear. I think everyone at the city has been very kind of cognizant of that and very supportive of that. But as cities grow and change and things happen, we feel strongly, PCP feels strongly that this type of action by the city council really gives their company, their owners, really a reinforcement to continue to invest and reinvest and reinvest in this operation for hopefully another 100 years. So thank you very much. Thank you again to staff, and we really appreciate the consideration this evening.
Thanks, sir. Any questions from council?
We thank you.
Oh, Councilman Johnstone has a question for you.
Not so much a question, but just, I'm just all for this too. I believe that PCP is a staple in the community, and we appreciate you trusting us as a place to do business. And so I just want to say thank you that you're willing to invest for another 100 years with our community.
Absolutely. And I should say, We have Paul Fairbanks, I'm sure all of you know
Yes.
quite well, as the plant manager, and then Mona Schulman, who is the general counsel for PCP and who's been kind of leading our charge on the way up here.
And
So
Paul
thank
didn't
you
start
very
in
much.
1914, correct?
I think I was actually in 1906, but he had a couple years to get started, right?
Well, we just appreciate you, and we
Yeah.
thank you for just trusting us with many, many more years.
Yep.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Vice Mayor Smith is in the queue.
Yeah, I just wanted to make an acknowledgement. So basically the entire city, some years back, 2009 to 2015, the RDA redevelopment piece, and so there was sweeping changes when it came to these, zoning issues. And so your property, like the whole entire 162 corridor, was changed from, C2 to mixed use. Same thing with the downtown. And so with that, sometimes in the best of moves, we don't always see the long-term ramifications or impacts of that. And so what we're simply doing here is just doubling down, recertifying the value and the long-term relationship that your companies had generationally really here in Oroville. Because with those changes, sometimes, people begin to look at things somewhat differently, and so there's concerns about long-term ramifications of those changes that seem like an amazing idea at the time, and so and I'm fully behind this 100%. I understand the implications and why we're doing this, and so you have my full support. I think this is a great thing.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Smith. I
Yeah,
appreciate
yeah,
those
thank you.
Thank you, sir. And I think the other factor that we also did tonight and recognize the removal of fluoride from the water, which is your water use, and we should not have had that in the water. And now you have very clean, pure water for your production processes. So that's good to hear.
Thank you so
All
much.
right.
Yeah,
Appreciate
thank
it.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there congratulations in order for you being the one that received the bid? You were very successful in that, correct?
The Del Monte.
Would you had the Del Monte?
I think she's referring to Del Monte.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Congratulations.
We too.
Good stuff.
One last thing.
Yes.
Just with that being said, with the Del Monte, I remember I now have grandkids in the community, but my kids and all of probably everybody here have had kids, grandkids, nieces, nephews start their job experience with PCP, and so we hope that keeps going, right?
Very cool.
So
Yeah.
it's a great opportunity, and so we just really appreciate you guys committing to us again. So thank you.
All right. That being said, I entertain a motion.
So I move that we adopt Resolution 9453, memorializing the vested rights of Pacific Coast producers in the continuation of their operations and its current location as a legal nonconforming use consistent with the applicable provisions of the Oroville Municipal Code and California law, notwithstanding the date change of 1914 to properly reflect the actual start date.
I'll second that.
Call the roll.
Motion passed 4 yes, 3 absent.
Thank you, folks.
Thank you.
All right. Now we'll go back to some part of the schedule or agenda. I guess the next item was reports and discussions. Yes. Council announcements and reports. Council? Vice Mayor Smith.
Yeah, just briefly, Feather Fiesta Days is up and coming, starting May 2nd. Of course, we have a lot of our service clubs that are significantly vested in this experience of Feather Fiesta Days, a multi-generational time, my goodness, I think 80, 90 years. Don't quote me on that, but it's been a long time, multi-generational for sure, Feather Fiesta Days. So May 2nd in the municipal parking lot, which we refer to as Parking Lot A on Montgomery Street. I believe that the, the Eagles, not the Eagles, pardon me, the Exchange Club and and several other clubs are going to be doing an event in there. And then throughout the week, we have things going on. And then cultivating with, of course, the car show and bands in Parking Lot A and just all kinds of good stuff. So come on out. Thank you.
Anyone, any other council? No, I'll go to staff members. Eric or Brian, you want to start over here?
Just one thing I wanted to stress is next Tuesday is the State of the City at 5:30 over at the
State Theater.
State Theater. So encourage folks to come out and listen.
All right. I would add too that one of the themes is going to be the presentation of the departments and what they're doing. So you and the public should come and just understand how your monies are being spent and how the services are being provided. And I look forward to the presentation. It'll be very, I think, informational if nothing else, for sure. Amy? Ruth? Oh, okay. Patrick?
I'd like to introduce our fire marshal. It was brought to my attention that I had not done this yet for the council.
Oh, good.
And so we hired Frank about 4 months ago. 6 months
Wow.
ago.
Yeah.
For Pete's sake.
Long
You are in
overdue.
trouble.
My, how time flies. I mentioned this in the goals and priorities workshop that Frank has just been doing a smashing job. He has gone through all of the apartments. He's gone through quite a few of the businesses. He's taken on the Firewise Council. He's taken on Fire Safety Council. So he's really just doing a great job taking on extra duties. Helping now the community start up their own Firewise communities as people choose to. He's just really, he's making bridges throughout the community. He's really making a big splash. So really glad to have Frank here with us.
Welcome, Frank. Yeah, please, come on up. Yeah, welcome.
Yeah.
Always like to hear
I
what's going
asked
on.
that we meet you because, you were a ghost that was doing a lot of good things in our community.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure working here. This first 6 months just flew by. Like Pat said, it's been 6 months already.
Yeah.
It's been 6 already. So just kind of up to date on inspections. I completed 89 apartment buildings.
Oh, wow.
And I had 28 re-inspections. I have 3 outstanding buildings still. I'm working with those owners to get those done, so we should be up to speed on those. 27 business inspections. Those are all the major retailers. Walmart, Home Depot, and such. They're all in compliance. 14 churches I've done. Those are all in compliance. 24 certificate of occupancy inspections, and all those passed now, so everybody has their license. We had 9 licensed food trucks in Oroville. Out of the 9, 8 of them didn't pass. And
Wow.
they're all in compliance now.
Okay.
They have everything done. 10 plan reviews and fire finals. I've completed 43 restaurants with 19 re-inspections.
Wow.
And I think there's 5 or 6 that are still working on getting some stuff done. 7 senior care facilities are all in compliance. 4, we call them STD 850 inspections, state licensing, family daycares, and they're all good to go. So to date, 293 inspections.
Wow.
And then we do have the Oroville Area Fire Safe Council kickoff meeting next month. I think it's the 17th, somewhere around there. Yeah. And then that following Saturday, we're doing an open house at the fire station, hopefully to get some people
Interest.
on board for the Fire Safe Council.
May 14th.
May 14th?
May 14th.
May 14th, there we
Yeah,
go.
we'll get the word out, but.
And kind of had a booth set up over when we opened the park a couple weeks ago, and I have 4 resident neighborhoods that want me to go in and do assessments so they can become Firewise neighborhoods. So then we should be up and coming here pretty quick.
Oh, that's good to hear.
And I'll add that he's just really a team player. And so with this, he had gone to the park, Hewitt Park, when we had the grand opening. So he doesn't work on Fridays. He drives here from Reading. And he just did that on his own. He just came to, you've heard that we had an opportunity to have a booth. And so he came down and flexed his hours for us, but came down and just manned the booth for us. And so I asked him if he'd come here tonight. Sure, no problem. So he's just he's
Thank
just
you.
willing to do anything we ask. It's really great.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
Tracy,
Frank-
Councilman Johnston has a
I'm
question.
sorry.
Just real quick, out of curiosity, what, out of those 200 and something inspections that you've done, did you get much community pushback from?
No, not at all.
No, okay.
Everybody's real happy that,
Even with the ones that didn't pass initially, they were open and, okay. All right, I appreciate that. Okay, awesome.
a lot of educational type inspections, went out and educating the business owners and kind of showing them how fire safety works, educating them on the fire code. And once they kind of realize and know the fire code and what we're looking for, everything went real smooth. Yeah.
Nice. Thank you so much.
Well,
Welcome.
it's very interesting on the portable, we call it truck sales, the one that caught fire and burned, might have been able to prevent that situation there, so.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilman Goodson.
Just add a few words, before we had a part-time fire inspector and fire marshal, and this has been one of those things that, I know Pat and I spoke about this for a long time, and it was like our goal was to get somebody, full-time, and so we're just thrilled to have Frank. I mean, it's one of those things where getting out in the community and doing these inspections and educating folks, it may not seem like it's important, but it's everything's fine until it's not, and then you have a fire, and it's like, okay, when was the last time this place was inspected? When, so it's between Frank and obviously all the efforts that our fire department's making. It's just really encouraging and to see for the community.
I like the meeting we were at the other night.
Right.
The education part was real big.
Yeah, that was a fascinating meeting. I'll see more how that comes about and where that goes, yeah. Councilman Goodson's in the queue.
Right, so thus far, Frank, you've inspected approximately 14 churches, and we probably have almost tripled that amount. So I was just wondering when our church, when is it to be scheduled? Yeah, is it on the list?
It's hard.
Work.
I've left messages to a lot of the churches, and a lot of people aren't there on Sunday.
Well, you have my number, so we have a church in South Side. Really would love to have an inspection.
What's the name of the church?
Taylor Memorial CME Church. See, it's right behind Country Boys on Myers.
All right.
Thank
Good.
you.
So, Vice Mayor Smith is in the queue.
So I have some advice. I have some advice for Councilwoman Goodson. So, Feather Fiesta Days on the 9th, we're going to have a fireman's chili cook-off.
Oh.
So you find out which firemen are going to come to your church to do the inspection. Then you vote for the right one.
Make me a judge like last year.
So,
Okay.
and it was over 100 years, Feather Fiesta Days. I had to fact check
Look it up.
myself. So,
Okay.
yeah. But anyway,
Thank you, Frank.
Right.
Welcome to Oroville.
Thanks
Thank
for
you,
the
Frank.
tip.
All right.
Of course, that was purely tongue in cheek.
Anyone else on this side of the room? That was just one. Who's next?
Tim said he didn't have anything tonight.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Bilson.
Yeah, I just want to announce that we're about, our code enforcement department's about 3/4 of the way through our fire inspections for residences. I think we've done close to 3,000 inspections so far. It's been posted twice in the paper per the ordinance to have your property fire safe by June 15th. And sent out a lot of letters, educating a lot of people. And I will tell you that Frank is a huge resource. Code enforcement loves him, and it's pretty amazing what he's accomplished in 6 months. It takes most people 6 months just to get their bearings and get started, and huge asset for code enforcement. A lot of good communications, a lot of good education back and forth. So we really appreciate having Frank here too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chief?
You'll hear enough of me
Later on, okay.
My
Tim?
microphone works finally.
Oh, your
I figured out where the button
was.
was.
Thank you, Mr. Bilson.
So updated the through 01 notes. We have 30 requests since the last reporting period. Still 9 open. A lot of broken tree limbs out there from windstorms and general unhappiness with the trees. Completed the FBO roof at the building or at the airport. Did some extensive crack sealing out there. Hewitt Park is almost complete. We're going to address the space for the little dogs that are getting through the fence. And I have the solar lights for the parking lot are on order. They'll be here June, July timeframe, and then we'll put them in. Shop Forces will put them in, and then I'm done.
Oh.
Then I'm not almost done. There's something else I
Councilman
need
Johnson
to do.
has a question for you.
Can we get some extra trash?
We'll address the extra trash.
Yeah.
Next meeting, I'm going to bring a update for Bedrock Park.
Mm,
Punted it from
mhm.
this meeting, but it'll be coming up next time. Montgomery Roundabout is nearly complete. The paving is done. Almost all the painting is
great.
done. Still need to do the green stripe. We changed material on it so that it would adhere better than what was out here on Montgomery in the previous project. We learned and applied it to that. Also have a couple of lights that are 10-month out to order, and I'll have shop crews put that in as well. A lot of things going on with sewer, streets and storm drains. They were mostly finishing up Hewitt Park last month. They're back to paving or repairing sidewalks. We're going to get that sidewalk. The gentleman that was here 2 meetings ago
On Fifth Avenue?
on Feather River at across from the Valero, I think it was.
Cottonwood Estates on Fifth Avenue.
Yes.
That's Fifth Avenue, right.
We're
Yeah.
Cottonwood Estates on Fifth Avenue is. We're going to do that in-house, so our engineer designed it, and we're going to do that in-house on shop forces.
Good.
And Vanessa's going to do a presentation on the museums next month, so we
good.
can hear from her again.
Yeah, very good. I will add, I've heard three schools are planning field trips to Hewitt Park kindergarten classes. So I don't know if I suggested they call the department, let them know how many kids are coming ahead of time. So we'll see how that plays out. But they're actually scheduling field trips to the park, so, which is I didn't expect that to happen, but that's okay. That's good. Yeah. Any other departments? Do you have one? No? Okay. Then we'll move to the consent agenda.
So moved.
I want to pull item 2 just for discussion. Any other items on the consent agenda? I entertain a motion to pass consent agenda with item number 2 pulled.
I move that we pass the consent calendar exempt item 2.
Okay.
Second.
Call the roll.
Motion passed 4 yes, 3 absent.
Okay. Item 2, I just wanted to pull that. If you want to speak about it real quick, if you're welcome to.
Yeah, back in March, time flies, as mentioned earlier, but back in March, while 2 Oroville City resources responding to a structure fire, one unfortunately did not make it out of the apparatus bay with the compartment doors closed, and made contact with the fire station, which is a masonry wall, and it ripped the compartment door off. Slung back, caused damage to the body, and flung over, and also caused a little bit of damage to the ladder truck, which we were able to repair in-house. The estimated amount is $22,812. The doors that were damaged are custom built. As you know, our fire engines are custom built. If they are unable to repair those doors, which we're hoping they can, it would be an additional $5,000 per door to have those custom built from the original manufacturer. That's what the extra $10,000 was asked for.
So is that like OEM or something? You have to have the original.
It's just very custom. The parts and everything, how it's framed and structured is custom to the body itself of that particular fire engine. So there's not extras.
Right,
laying
right.
around. And the metal was actually torn. FAS is going to, if approved tonight, do the repairs. They've done repairs for us in the past. They're a SMEAL dealer, and they work on warranty and do all repairs for SMEAL fire apparatus.
I just wanted the council to be aware, and maybe later on you could produce a report with some pictures so that you and I understand the door, but I don't think the rest of the council do. So if you have some of those as a part of the report, so you can see what damage was done, I'd appreciate that. That's all I was asking for.
And while we're on the subject, I'll be coming back for another engine that was damaged as well. So I might as well break the ice now on that.
Vice Mayor Smith.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that with the pole. I got pictures. I was there. So.
It was a pretty busy time of day to wreck a fire engine.
Okay, yeah, I'll be looking forward to hearing about that.
Council, we're gonna check in with just Department of General Services at state level to see if they would assist with some of these matters. It's worth a phone call.
Okay.
Yeah, I was eating at Taco Bell, in case you're wondering. Yeah.
Well, I appreciate that because, they're not our drivers, they're, the state drivers. So if we can get reimbursement from the state, that would be wonderful if that happens. But essentially, under the contract, it's our responsibility. So I'll move the item or entertain a motion to move the item.
So moved. So moved. Second.
Roll call. Thank you, sir. All right.
Motion passed 4 yes, 3 absent.
Thank you. Item number 11, Norton Street Rehabilitation Project Update. Mr. Caber.
Can you bring up the PowerPoint, Nancy?
Yep.
Councilman Goodson, excuse me, thank you.
Oh, I'm waiting.
She's waiting.
Oh. So we're on Norton Street Rehabilitation Project Update.
This project's been in design for quite a while. It was the original, the design contract was signed in June of 2023. It was also on the Senate Bill 1 list, passed by resolution that same year, along with Georgia Pacific Way, Oro Dam Boulevard East, and Nelson Avenue. So those are the 4 ones that were on the resolution that time.
If you remember that list articulates what those SB1 dollars can be utilized for, what projects.
Go to the next one. So Norton Street, I'll keep talking while the slides are coming up. But Norton Street itself is quite narrow, very beat up. We've had some utility work in there. PG&E went through there last year and upgraded the service laterals. Cal Water's going to go in there later this year and lower their water mains and also replace them, as they're 104 years old.
Yeah.
So right now, the top of the pipe for Cal Water is maybe a foot underneath the surface of the road. So we're going to go in there and going to correct a lot of drainage issues. So the length of this road is from Bridge Street to Montgomery Street. If we go to the next one. That is how narrow it is. If you look at the pavement, that pavement is 20 feet wide. Then there's 6 foot of dirt on the right side, 6 foot of dirt on the left side. A lot of construction constraints on here. It's the right side is a hill with connecting driveways. The left side, right up to almost the front window of all those houses on the left. Go to the next one. The current street layout, 32-foot wide right-of-way, regardless of what I do. There's no room for land acquisition either side for road geometry. It doesn't help. It's two-way traffic right now. Traffic has to stop quite a bit. Drove through on Friday, and the car had to pull over for me so that I could go through. Emergency vehicles, I could see being a little bit, waylaid in there, depending on who's in there. There's no curb and gutter, so we have quite a bit of drainage that goes off onto the west side. That was the left side of the previous picture. Some residents have been industrious and created some diversion dams of their own to get it away from their foundations. It just sheet flows right across the street. I don't have any infrastructure in that area to take the drainage. There's minimal sidewalks in the area. There's some on the north side. However, the right-of-way up near Montgomery gets to 27 feet wide, so there's even less I can do up there. Go to the next one. New street layout, still 32-foot wide. I can't do anything about that. 20-foot wide traveled lane is going to be the minimum. I'm going to set it at 25. I need 20 foot for emergency vehicles for the fire trucks to get through. I can't go lower than that. I'll put in a curb and a gutter. I'll put in some storm drain inlets on the west side. The plan right now is a linear drain. So imagine a storm drain inlet that runs 400 feet, and the water can just dump into that and it'll catch all the sheet flow. We'll put in some culverts and I'll put in 42-inch wide decomposed granite or soil surface, walking surface on either side. The idea there is if the cars aren't there, people can walk on it. I'm not required to put sidewalks in the area because it's not a destination or an origin area for businesses. So I got that cleared through our ADA SME. I don't have room for concrete sidewalks in that area. I've talked to quite a few residents in that area. They're ecstatic that something's coming. It's been a long time. I know Public Works has been out there 6-7 years ago doing some work, but it's bad. Go to the next one. So traffic flow discussion. We can either do this one-way traffic or two-way traffic. Either way, it'll use the same layout on the road. There are complaints from the neighborhood that people from the high school area are using that as a speedway to go north and to catch Montgomery. The sight distance on Montgomery and the traffic speed on Montgomery, despite being 25 miles an hour, it's a sketchy intersection, I would call it. And if I make it one way, it would be from the north to the south. So the traffic would be entering from the Montgomery side and going towards the Bridge Street side, and that would eliminate the left turns across a two-way or a two-lane section on Montgomery Street. I could prohibit parking on one side of the street. That was not well received by the residents. But the tight confines of the road are dictating what we do there. There's not a whole lot I can do to widen that road. 32 feet is all I have. Subject to any questions.
We have some councilmen in the queue. Councilman Goodson's first up.
Thank you, Tim, for the update. So I have a couple of questions. And if you could just give me some background. So it's my understanding that there was a project draft back in 2023, right? SB1 monies?
I don't know how the projects were.
Okay. So before I talk about the layout options, I just wanted to get an understanding. When did Norton Street become a top priority project, especially since there's areas like in other districts, South Side has had a long-standing drainage issue problem, sidewalks and infrastructure issues that have been, these problems have existed since the beginning of time. So I just want to know how that got at the top of the list. And so in the staff report, it mentions that there's no fiscal impact and that funds have previously been allocated for not just the design, but the construction of this specific project. Once again, how did it become a top priority? And is there still funding left in that SB1 pool?
To answer the first one, I don't know how it got racked and stacked back in 2023.
How did it get pulled now, though?
This
Because
has
since 2023.
This has SB1 funding that I can only use on roads, and this was
Right.
and allocated only to the projects that were by resolution from City Council and submitted to the state. So every year there's a SB1 resolution that goes into CalSmart, and that's the only projects we can use SB1 dollars on.
Right.
So this one was supposed to go last fall. But talking to Cal Water, we discovered that their water lines were too high and they would not survive construction. So we delayed it now till this fall. As for we have design, we have the South Side drainage study going on in South Side
Right
with
on that
American Engineering.
Greenville side where the olive plant is.
No, we have it all of South Side.
Yes. So
We have two projects on there, both by American Engineering. One is specifically focused on Greenville right next to the Olive. The other one is the drainage and the sidewalks layout
now that's a
for
priority.
for that one. And we're going after targeted money for that one, both ATP and CMAQ dollars to design Lincoln, and we're going after ATP dollars for the two projects that didn't get picked last year.
Right. Okay. I get that. Okay, so let me move on to, and I thank you
Hey, Councilmember,
for addressing that.
Can I add one comment on that, too?
Sure.
I think a lot of this decision was made, again, it was a number of years ago, but I think since then we have implemented the software where we try to track the road conditions, and we come to the council with more methodical approaches to what our priorities are. So obviously this road it needs it bad, but to your point, we
Right.
hear you. There are many that need it bad as well. So.
Right, because it's when one boat floats, everybody gets to float, right? But now I'm just going to move on to the layout and what those options are. So we're just exploratory and seeking direction from the council tonight. And I believe that we should seriously look at the one-way configuration. And I'll tell you why, and I think we can all agree. It's a narrow right-of-way, and a one-way layout would give a lot more flexibility for parking and for the drainage improvements and for emergency access. So that's my take on it, and I'm just curious, could you walk us through what a one-way option would look like? And whether it would resolve the space constraints on Norton, because it is narrow.
One-way option, so entering from Montgomery Street, going south on Norton, going towards Bridge Street. To alleviate the safety concerns that I have on Montgomery Street. That would leave, there's only going to be one car in the travel lane at any time, so there's no head-on, unless it's a wrong-way driver. But I'm not going to be able to fix that. But it would still be 6-foot car on the left, 6-foot car on the right. I'm going to have 25, 26 feet of open roadway where cars, if they are going around, they can maneuver around. Emergency vehicles, a car can pull over, still has the 20-foot lane to go. And then traffic would exit out either to Orange Street, or it would go the one way that passed the high school up to the eastern section of Orange towards the Acacia traffic signal.
So have you done a survey of the neighbors?
I've talked to them in the field.
And so what's
They want a one-way.
They want a one-way?
They want a one-way.
Okay, good.
And they don't want to lose parking.
Yeah, that's a given. All right, thank you. Appreciate that.
Councilman Johnston's in the queue.
Thank you. So you answered a few of my questions. I, too, was going to ask about one-way versus the two-way. So it sounds like it's a consensus that they want the one-way and they want to have parking on both sides of the street?
Yes.
Okay. So do you know about how many cars? I mean, it looks like there's quite a few that park on both sides, right?
There are.
Always.
There are.
Yeah.
So if we did agreed to do the one-way, cars would still be able to park on both sides of the street, and there would still be room for emergency vehicles and possible, maneuvering around them if necessary.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Vice Mayor Smith.
Yeah, basically, I think we're getting redundant. But being a driver of a large vehicle, I think one way makes a ton of sense. Pulling trailers or anything like that, because obviously you can't, becomes a hazard, right, trying to do two-way. So that makes a ton of, and that's great that we've checked with all of the neighbors and they're on board with it. That's probably the most important thing, so I appreciate that.
Yeah, I didn't send mailers or anything. I was talking to people in the streets.
Wow.
Yeah, no, that's an amazing customer service piece that really communicates to the neighborhood that, it matters and that your opinion matters. So I really appreciate you going out there and doing that. That's pretty amazing. So thank you.
As the design evolves, we are going to have to reconstruct about 7 to 10 feet of some driveways on the right, just so that we can meet the grade. It's steep over there. And if I lower the road and I don't go in and lower the driveways, then it's going to be too steep. And there's some encroachment into our right-of-way. There's a few fences that need to get pushed back out. We need to reclaim our right-of-way.
Yeah, great, thank you.
And you spoke to those neighbors?
I have not.
Okay.
We'll make sure that all the neighbors are aware. I mean, obviously, changing from a two-way to a one-way is a big deal. I know Tim has been out there a couple times and has spoken to a number of them, but we'll make sure we get input from everybody.
there's a man out there that has an amazing garden, and he's the one that's most impacted by the drainage, and he's ecstatic that we're coming through with this.
Yeah, my comments, I would just want to put in here, this has been a long-term problem for decades. Norton has just been a big pain. I remember when it wasn't even paved, it was just a dirt road and gravel. So this is a, you know, as we have many places in the city, this is one that's been a long-term problem for many, many decades. So I appreciate the work, and I certainly like the idea of the one-way street. It's the only possible way to make things happen there. And I think the direction is right, too, because that's where people come in, and it's an interesting problem. And it was kind of exacerbated when we did the changeover for Orange Avenue to make Bridge Street. There used to be a market right there on the corner that was a common grocery store, and now it's gone. So it's interesting how it's changed over the years. All I can remember is the rainbow break on the door when you went into the door to go to the market. It was, I can't remember the name of the market, though. Come on, Belser, help me out. But it's a big change, and it's a very good thing we're doing this, as we have many places in the city to work on, but it's nice to get this one done. And I appreciate the coordination with the utility company, because that is a very old water line in that system. So Councilman Johnstone's next.
Yeah, sorry, I forgot to mention. So can we have, I know we implemented that new program for the streets, right, about priorities. And I know that South Side absolutely has been neglected. So can we have an update sometime here in the near future about what roads, like extensive? And
Yes.
what funding we're going
Probably be
after?
part of your budget package, too.
Well, the big funding packages are going to be the ones that we're going after for CMAQ. So Lincoln, Burlington, and Spencer are the three big ones we're addressing right now.
Okay. Thank you.
And there's a thought in the world that Ithaca is actually a street, but it's really not.
What is it?
It's kind of a path that it's not really a full street, but there's a good example of something that fits the Norton category too. Ithaca.
The first.
I know it's in my district, but
I know.
it has a street name.
It has a street name, but that's far from what it is. So
The Greenville culvert
Yeah.
the Greenville culvert by the Olive Company is going to be addressed this year.
yeah, that's good to hear, because that's. Thank you, County Butte. They left us that problem. So, all right, thanks, sir.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, Tim.
So, do you have enough direction? Sounds like we like the one-way and go for your plan. Okay. We've finished 12. Item number 13, Fire Department cost recovery, managing service demand. Mr. Tens, Chief, welcome. Councilman Goods, it's already in the queue?
I'm on fire today.
Oh, you're on.
I'll wait.
She just got back from vacation, so you gotta understand, folks. It's been a long term. Okay, go ahead.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of the council. What you have before you tonight is introduction to a proposed cost recovery ordinance for certain types of fire department responses. Over the past several years, we've seen a noticeable increase in call volume, particularly calls that are not true emergencies but still require a response from our crews. When those calls are repeated or are preventable, they don't just add cost, they also tie up our crews' apparatus, which can impact our ability to respond to true emergencies elsewhere in the community, and I'll touch a little bit more on that. The proposed ordinance is designed to address that issue in a fair and balanced way. I want to be very clear about one point. Nothing in this proposed ordinance should discourage anyone from calling 911. If you believe you are having an emergency, we want you to call. We're here for the people of the community. We'll continue to be here for the people of the community, and we don't want that to change. What you will not be billed for is legitimate emergencies or good faith calls for help. What this ordinance does is focused on specific situations where the use of fire service is avoidable, excessive, or the result of negligence, and as repeated false alarms, non-emergency service calls. We understand there may be concerns from the public, particularly around fairness and financial impact. That's why this ordinance includes important safeguards. There are clear exemptions for good faith emergency calls, and it provides the fire chief discretion to reduce or waive fees when appropriate. There's also an appeal process to ensure transparency and accountability. At its core, this is about protecting our ability to respond when it matters most, maintaining service levels, and ensuring that preventable or repeated use of service does not place the full burden on the general taxpayer. And what this is in response. You'll remember a few months back, maybe even a year ago, I came to you and we discussed priority dispatching for medical facilities only. Yep. And that's worked, and we're still implementing that procedure, but we're not seeing the results that's needed. Right now, I could tell you just your two city resources are simultaneously being used 30 to 40% of the time, and that's just your two city engines. That doesn't include when the county's also assisting the city. So we are trying to make an effort to leave your resources more available for true emergencies. We will still respond to public services, needs, or anything else, but when it's getting abused and taken advantage of, it's not fair.
It's not fair, and also, it like he said, 30 to 40% of the time we have our two engines are out on calls. If you then throw in a chunk of those calls that are really non-emergent issues, what you're doing is you're taking away from legitimate emergency calls.
There's a lot of different scenarios where your engines have not been able to respond because we're supplementing somebody else's low staffing levels in the private industry. And they haven't, frankly, been very willing to work with us on it. So this is an effort to try to free up resources for true emergencies in your community. We're still responding to, the
cat
lack
in the tree.
of El Medeo missing. There's 1,000 calls there we picked up a few years ago. I think that's all that I really have. I have some other figures if council has questions, but I'll open
Councilman Goodson's in the queue for questions.
Oh, thank you, Chief.
So I appreciate the effort that you're making to be fiscally responsible and certainly not to penalize those that find themselves in emergency situations. But I do have a couple of questions, just to make sure that the community understands how this program works. You're still kind of navigating that process. Can you explain what criteria will guide the decision to bill or waive fees so that the public can feel confident in the program and that it's applied consistently and fairly? And I think my second question kind of piggybacks off of it, because we do have a lot of low-income residents, seniors and individuals on fixed incomes. They experiencing a crisis and as you put it, you do not want to discourage anyone from calling 911. So, but how do you distinguish who genuinely is in need? I mean, how do you make that calls? And so we don't catch ourselves in a liability situation.
Yeah, great question. There are a couple ways. There would be a vetting process for one, a review process that would ultimately land on my desk. But the other one is when somebody calls 911, we already screen calls. We do that within priority dispatching now. So typically, anytime we respond without lights and sirens to a medical facility because somebody has, a non-emergent life-threatening injury at a doctor's office, essentially across the street from the hospital, we would deem that non-emergent. There's a point where it becomes abuse, and that's what we're looking for. We're looking for the abuse. If somebody calls us and they don't have anybody to help them, we're not going to send them a bill for that at all. They would never see a bill for that. So we're looking for more of that abusing the system.
Excessive use.
They're relying on a company per se is relying on taxpayer-funded resources to supplement their staffing levels. Is what we're really trying to hone in on.
Okay.
It's not the average citizen. Now that doesn't mean that if somebody's negligent and starts a fire, this is a mechanism which there's already a fee schedule with a lot of this already in there. This cleans a lot of that up as well.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Smith is indicated.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, just to further, I think, the conversation that Councilwoman Goodson started puts you in a potentially, a precarious or compromised, I don't know what word is appropriate there. And so I think probably working with our city attorney, I would just recommend as you develop this to tighten it up, that maybe even have certain set points, like after a false or something's determined, like a first to second within a 90-day period or 120-day period, to where it kind of removes the discretionary decision process to where you hit these trigger points. That might be a little more clean in some of these situations where you're not put in that situation where you're kind of making that judgment call, just as a thought process. And also, potentially, you could I think legally, again, this comes back to professional attorney opinion, but could to separate perhaps the professional entities versus the private and those calls for service. And so if, so they're in a different category of trigger points or requirements as another possibility. As this is just in the development stages, obviously, so we're kind of exploring this. But so just some thoughts as I looked at this, and I understand what you're trying to, the objective you're trying to achieve here. Without being overly burdensome or alarming to our, the average citizen who has an emergency and, oh my God, am I going to be charged for that? Just to set those concerns aside, potentially. That's kind of what I'm looking for here. So maybe some input.
I will discuss the parameters of that with the department while they develop the additional detail.
Okay.
Certainly, I don't think it'd be real appropriate to kind of float my opinion now without the context that we might have when it's been developed a little bit. But I'll work with the department to get you there.
Yeah, thank you.
So, and putting a number on it is something that has crossed my mind a lot. And the more I think about it, the more I kind of lean against it as much as I want it. I think maybe on specific call types we could, but I don't want to set a number of, say, 2, right? There's 2 times the fire department will show up at your address and help you up. When you really need us, we're not, it wouldn't matter if we were there 50 times. If you really need us and you have no mechanism for help, we're not going to send you a bill for that at all. It's not the intent of it. But then again, when you start looking at some of the negligent aspects, to me, that's one. If somebody starts a fire and causes damage or something to other property, I don't want to say, well, you get 2 shots at that. So it's hard to set in emergency services. Every situation is very unique and dynamic and different. That's the challenge. But I'm more than willing to add that if that's your.
Wow. Yeah, and again, this is I'm not a professional in this arena, but just in looking at it, and then I did look at what other jurisdictions do, and that is not that's pretty typical that they use, and then so that way you're not under that the pressure of making all those judgment calls.
It's difficult. I've done a ton of research on this over the last probably couple months myself, and every jurisdiction is very unique to their own needs.
Sure.
And there is an upward trend for sure across the board in agencies that are beginning to do this process. This is more of a blanket approach to a lot of different billable scenarios, not specifically zoning in on one, which we could go that route, because that's why we're here to have the discussion now. This is a thought, it's a plan, and I encourage feedback and anything like that, and we can add it.
And it's not, for the most part, it's not the community members that are causing these issues. It's private businesses that are relying, again, I think the chief articulated very well, they're relying on the fire department, who are funded by the community to assist in their operations. And at some point, that does become significant abuse of the fire department and the resources.
I could tell you over the last 2 years, there's one particular address that's called 911 for our services over 537 times.
Yeah. And I think that's why I was recommending
One
the
address.
commercial
It's
versus
about
the
once a week.
private.
I can tell you
Once or
that
twice a
I
day.
spent 2.5 years, my father-in-law was in a facility where we're paying close to $10,000 a month, and he absolutely abused. And they refused to staff anybody to handle a blister, handle someone that had body aches, handle somebody that slipped out of a wheelchair, or
Or needed to be turned.
constant 911 call after 911 call.
Wow. Thank you.
It's an internal policy amongst private entities
Okay.
in the area
All right.
that affects the
That's who they're
taxpayers.
going
And
after.
that is
That's why
the
I was
meat and
like
potatoes
commercial versus
of why I'm here.
Yeah.
I don't want to single anybody out, and I think this is a
Right.
good opportunity to clean the fire department's fee schedule up for some of these types of service calls that are already billable. This really adds the teeth in the process behind the fee schedule for us to get out there. So we took an approach at a bunch of different problems versus singling one problem out. And that's kind of how we've landed here. So we're talking about a department-wide billing process. Calling 911 is just one aspect of this
Okay.
ordinance.
Okay. I'm in the queue now. I got a couple just brief comments. The repeat call, the frequent flyer, and picking a number. You mentioned one with a couple hundred. We had some in the Oroville Inn when it was a really flop house that were approaching 100 calls for the same person, the same place. And we reached a number around between 20 and 30 repeat calls, the same person, same kind of thing. I'm just throwing out there as some number to pick. Because what was happening is the social workers were not going to take care of the individual.
Sure.
And so it dumped upon
Mental
us
health.
to take care of the individual, wheelchair bound on the third floor of the Oroville Inn, and the elevators didn't work. So it was a number of calls that occurred from that particular situation. Yeah, this is an ongoing program that I appreciate the fact that we have some mechanism for this process, because the taxpayer is not getting the best bang for its buck. Especially now that I understand in today's world, the dispatchers will receive a call and actually schedule a fire department visit, which is something new to me. I'd never heard of such a thing, but schedule a visit like Mr. Belser was talking about, where they need to move a patient, and they don't have enough staff to move a patient, and they're asking for our help. That to me is a very billable experience, and
Yes, sir.
and it certainly should be, and I'm not telling you as a penalty, but at the same time, I can see that maybe the private enterprise might say, gee, we can hire the fire department for a 2-hour or a 1-hour event, or half-hour event, whatever it may be, and it's cheaper for them to hire us than to have someone there. So we got to be careful about where we go with this, because you could create a whole nother department for things, and I'm not trying to do that, but I certainly see the possibility to the future, and I appreciate that suggestion over there. That's exactly what I saw, for 30 years.
The goal isn't to, like you said, it's not to generate revenue to create another
service.
It's literally to recover costs, and as the chief has proposed it, or will be proposed in the ordinance. I mean, he's at least had discussions on ratcheting it up. Starting out here, then here, then here, as it goes up. But at some point, there's got to be cost recovery where you're at least paying for those services.
Well, and I think establishing the benchmark, what is the repeat calls that we start billing on? I mean, whatever that may be, and I don't really care, it's just some number, so that everyone knows out there that after, say, 25 or 30 calls, the same address, same person, same scenario, that's something to, put it as a benchmark. The other case that we used to have problems with is we go on a patient that has contagious disease, and we have to wear protective PPEs, and that became a cost factor for us in the fire department. So what we used to do is have an agreement with the ambulance service. If we had to do that on a contagious patient, they would reimburse us or give us the PPEs in exchange of. Now, I don't know if we're doing that right now or not.
Still do that.
Okay, we still do that. So we don't have the cost of that, but it comes from the ambulance service who has the ability to bill for the PPE stuff, which can get very expensive.
Yeah.
The other item to put on your list of things is when you do have another agency, say Engine 63 is handling a repeat call, are we going to bill for that situation too? You follow me? Just should we be, or are they going to bill for it, or whoever is going to take care of that? If they're providing service to us, should that billing be done based upon a repeat call or whatever our standards and parameters are? So it's just one of the things to put on the list to take a look at. But I appreciate this. This is a good discussion, and it's necessary because our call load is high. It's high for a lot of reasons, but it also is a very high repeat call load. And that's what we have to address because there's a lot of folks out there that like to rely upon the 911 calls. So I appreciate the discussion.
And it's really quick, just to tag on, I totally lost my train of thought. Sorry.
I was jumping on the other agency issues, the PPE, the repeat call benchmark. And I'm sure there's a lot of departments that have that repeat call benchmark, whatever that is. And then the special occasion issue that, strikes us out. If it's one or two, it's fine. But you get special occasions that get repeated, like, the movement of a patient is very common from the house to the ambulance, and it's, say, an obese patient or whatever. Once or twice, fine, but 5 or 6 times, same place, same situation. That's providing private enterprise with public funds, basically. Councilman Johnstone's in the queue.
Yeah, thank you. So I appreciate the discussion on this. And I appreciate the clarification. I was concerned about like our vulnerable population, maybe with some mental health issues or whatever, that are repeatedly calling. You're not talking about those types of situations necessarily. You're more aiming this towards businesses and such that are taking advantage of it. Or will you have a milestone put in place for individuals that call on a regular basis? I mean, that's where it gets kind of hairy, right?
Yeah, so I don't want to single anybody out, private or, an average citizen. And I don't want to say that, if a citizen's abusing the 911 system, that they might get billed.
So it's a case by case.
It really, I don't see that happening a lot. That is not the direction
What you're
of
looking,
what we're looking for. And what kind of landed us here is not focusing on some of these for-profit businesses and not just singling them out. It's more of a blanket ordinance. Now, it does add the ability to bill for negligence. So if I could give you an example in my head. If you're drinking alcohol and floating down the river and you get, you're negligent, you get caught on the river somewhere and we have to send resources, that's would be a possibility.
Which, I mean, even like false fire alarms, right? You already have something in place for that, right? If you have repeated false fire alarms or something like that, then you can be billed for that, whether you're private or business related too. So I mean, that's
well, the thing, and that goes back to what I was saying in the fee schedule. That is in the fee schedule, but there's no meat behind it. So it's like, at what point do I send a bill? And who do I send? What's the process in this blanket ordinance covering all that? Basically, essentially all those types of fees in the master fee schedule. would be covered under one ordinance.
So did I hear you say you were going to have like trigger points based upon, I mean, I don't want it to be all willy-nilly, right? I want it to just be like, there has to be steps to, and guidelines?
We can look at that route, but as I was mentioned earlier, the thing that makes me nervous about setting a set number on, like, if somebody needs help up, we're only going to come 2 times, and after that, we're going to charge you. Somebody may truly not have the ability or have the funds for somebody to, we would not bill them in that situation, because we wouldn't feel that they're taking advantage of something. If they really need us, we're there, but it's the,
And I hear what you're saying. I completely hear what you're saying. My concern is that puts a lot of pressure on you and a lot of responsibility on you as the ultimate say, and it also liability, right? As far as what gives you the right to make all those decisions, right?
So, and this is a great discussion. We can assign a committee, so it doesn't just put it on me. Maybe it's
a committee or something.
The city administrator, and maybe the city attorney or something like that. I mean, that's totally acceptable. I don't want to put it all on, it's going to be a lot, there's a lot of research that's going to go into, a lot of documentation would go into this before we'd even consider invoicing somebody.
It's going to be pretty obvious when, yes, we should absolutely be charging for this. So again, it's for someone who an elderly person may fall and they can't get up. That is an emergency for that person.
Exactly.
So that's something that, as the chief said, they're going to go to that. It's when people are calling when
537 times.
when they should be, again, if it's a private business, they should have their own staff to be addressing that. And in the other situation, it's going to be obvious. So I hear what the council's saying, though, about pressure on the chief. And we actually talked about this morning, because chief now, 5 years from now, who's going to be chief and what's their position going to be on this? So I can just say that during
I
our
guess that's
discussion-
what I mean by guidelines, is not necessarily like, after 2 times, you get billed or whatever, but more of just like a standard. I mean, I don't even know if there is a standard, because it seems like it almost might need to be fluid,
I think
right?
that someone mentioned having that definition of what defines an emergency, and that's something we got to put some thought into, and I think it's included, actually. So
I think it's in.
Yeah, as long as, if it is a true emergency, then they're going to respond. And it's not, they have nothing to worry about.
Yeah, but what I may think as a true
Definition.
Emergency
Is not yours.
chief might not think as a true
Yeah,
emergency.
that's where I think it's a matter of, the intent, and that's where there is some discretion with the chief.
Okay.
Councilman Goodson.
But the goal isn't to say, yes, let's charge people. It's really those repeat offenders where it's becoming an
It's kind of just
obvious
accountability, right? You're just, now you're putting accountability in place as far as, look, we're not set up to be your personal.
Yeah, and I think people, I don't think businesses and just community members in general really think about, I bet you if we polled the community, how many fire engines does the city of Oroville staff? How many would know that we have 2? You know what I mean? And how many would know that,
And how many
many
calls
times,
you
30,
respond
40%,
to.
they're responding. So and how many, 6,000 calls?
65.
6,500 calls in a year. So I think educating the public on some of this information is key too. So they
Absolutely.
realize our resources
Education.
are very limited, and we cannot be going to non-emergency calls.
Didn't you say, Chief, too, in a conversation that we had, that we are as busy or busier than Chico?
As a city as a whole, no.
Okay.
But when you start looking at single stations.
Okay.
And the amount of calls they run.
I mean, it's crazy amount of calls.
Yeah, we're extremely busy.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate the conversation.
I appreciate it.
Vice Mayor Smith or Goodson's in the queue.
So is it safe to say that a cat up a tree is a non-emergency?
If it's my cat.
But see, that's what I'm saying, because, I don't even own a cat, but.
I need to put that in there. That's actually a good idea.
But that would be an emergency for some folks who that is their rescue. What do you call it? Their safety
Emotional
animal,
support.
emotional support animal. So you're going to
that's
have
why I
to
think
tweak that.
Every situation is very
Is
unique
different.
in what we do. And you know what? We probably wouldn't bill for something like that.
Especially if it was like a grandmother.
But if the cat kept getting stuck in the tree.
Yeah, build the cat a tree house. But that wasn't my question. So
we're very clear this is not revenue generated. So here's my question. What metrics would you use to evaluate whether the program is actually reducing preventable calls without creating barriers to emergency access?
Well, I think that's on who's calling us more than us to determine, based off whatever the fees may be. But is your question based on how much it should cost?
No, because I just want to know how you will evaluate the workability of this program.
Yeah.
And reducing preventable calls.
I'm hoping that when we get there, so to start from the beginning, there'll be a process, right? So the engine captains are the ones that would initiate this process in the field, because they're the ones going. I'm at home sleeping in bed.
Okay.
But they're the ones that are responding to the calls. I'm not. And they would start the process. From there, it would be required of them to produce the documentation. How many times have we been there?
Okay, so they pull it up.
When somebody calls 911, as you have mentioned, it is an emergency to them. Our command center screens those calls and determines how we're going to respond and how many resources are going to go. But we don't know until we get there. And our captains would essentially start that process. And then from there, it would go to my battalion chiefs. My battalion chiefs would then review. They would review that, hey, we've been there 14 times in the last month for the same thing. They need to hire more staff. So then it would come from there, it would come to me. And then I would, depending on whatever process was chose, but in my mind, I'm thinking at the executive level in the CAL FIRE Butte unit to have a discussion on if and when they're going to be billed.
Okay.
It does clean it up if you put a number on it, but the only thing that scares me about it is it takes away the ability for us to say, no, we're not going to bill that person. I don't want to bill them. They really need our help. And that's what keeps me from wanting to put that number on it, because I don't want to send a bill at all. I don't want to do it. Nancy probably doesn't want to help me with it. We don't want to do it. We're only going to strike when we have to hopefully offset the amount of times that they're calling us, or it could backfire, as the mayor had mentioned.
I'll be sending you good thoughts, because this is a really delicate process that you're trying to navigate.
It is, but I'm asking for help. I have to react to the situation we're in now. I could tell you probably 20 times in the last few months that response has been delayed to true emergencies in the city
because
of your city
calls that could be prevented. Yes, okay.
It happens all the time. And the intent is to hopefully stop that or reduce the amount of times. And from here, the only other really option is to add additional resources, which is going to be extremely expensive. We don't want to get there.
Right.
We've tried priority dispatching. I want to try this. If that doesn't work, I would say the next step would be, which I don't want to do at all, would be priority dispatching citywide, not just at medical facilities. I feel comfortable at medical facilities because there's, doctors and nurses on scene, which is really weird getting a patient passed down from a doctor. But I'm kind of rambling here.
No, we're following.
Yeah. Well, I think the issue of the cat in the tree is basically we always went as a support to SPCA. If SPCA called us out, then we're helping them, another agency. So the cat would go to SPCA first.
Okay.
And then the fire department would come. And one time it was a 4-foot lizard in a tree 30 feet in the air.
Oh my
Yeah, and the
Well, at least
piranhas.
it wasn't a snake.
Oh, well, rattlesnakes we get all the time. Yeah. Vice Mayor Smith.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, just a matter of disclosure for me, just listening to the conversation and the definition of the word event, because being at the Chamber of Commerce and we run events, so it's a matter of the interpretation. I think what you were referring to is more of like a medical event. But if this were to evolve into something more beyond kind of where I think and what the intent is, there is a possibility I would have to step away from this conversation, just for full disclosure. And in the event in the future I make that choice, then I just kind of laying that groundwork now.
Okay.
I don't think that's where you're taking this, but yeah, but just in case, because in a matter of how people interpret words. And so I've kind of wrestled with this, but then listening to the mayor address it, I thought, maybe I should just, out of the abundance of caution,
Okay.
just bring that up.
All right.
So, all right, thank you.
Thank you. And do we have any cards on this item?
I hope not.
We do not, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. You have enough direction?
I do, thank you.
Okay. Thank you for bringing it up.
Good
Appreciate
input,
it.
and we will be bringing it back in the future as
Okay.
a first reading, and then obviously for more public input and council input.
Now we're ready for the police department. Item number 14, the Oroville Police Department recommendations for increased presence in parks.
All right, per your request, kind of looked over what, not just the needs of Hewitt Park, but all the parks in the city, as well as some other needs. And some of the conversation we were talking about is maybe some extra overtime for increased patrols, which is very appreciated. However, that is a short-term fix, and it doesn't provide much long-term. So as far as the use of funds, it'd be limited benefit. So we looked at some different options, but really what I'm trying to do with the proposal here is to utilize a program that we wanted to implement anyway, and this is just kind of make it a catalyst to expedite that, and that is to purchase software. For the ease of it, this is the mobile computers that go into police cars. We already have the platform set up in the car. The cost for the software is around $35,000. That's why I've been kind of waiting to see where budgets are. But due to the needs, with Ruth's help, I've been able to find it within my own budget so that we can purchase the software as well as some computers. And then that way we can do it within the budget at no cost, which is part of an ongoing plan. And what that allows us to do is keep our officers in the field. So instead of having to come back to the station to write reports, which right now every little bit I can shave off my gas costs, my fuel costs is beneficial, but it allows them to stay in the field so they can pull up to the parks and write their reports and be a present in there. Because that was the other aspect I was looking at. If we just start having our police occupy the parks, it's a very limited function for quite a bit of cost. So I need to find some dual purpose use while we're out there for maximum efficiency of our funding. And so that was the proposal I put forward, is to allow me the opportunity to go ahead and purchase the mobile rims now with the a few computers that I can do for that price. Like I said, the cars are already outfitted. We're ready to go. We just need to get the computers and the software in there, and they can start writing reports in the field. As well as other activities, running plates, running people out in the field, reducing the impact on dispatch as well.
Cool. Any questions from staff? Or it's not from staff. Council?
Yes.
Go ahead.
So-
Councilman Goodson, yes.
Chief, you mentioned that there's two funding sources in the current police budget?
One funding source.
Okay, so there's one. So with using, how much is in that fund?
I think there was two accounts we found, but both of them had sufficient funds, correct, Ruth?
We found two funds that we estimate through the end of the year not to be utilized. One was 40 and one was maybe 50, but it was an estimate. We don't know what's actually going to happen in those funds. But
So-
they're separate funds.
So using those funds, it wouldn't affect anything else in the department that had been planned?
I was not planning on-
Any futuristic? Okay.
No, because of watching budget, I wasn't planning on purchasing anything more, but with Ruth's help, we went through the budget to plan out for the remaining of the year, and it looks like it's going to be untouched funds for the rest of the year.
They're more like for one-time use, not ongoing.
Not
Capital.
ongoing?
Correct,
Okay.
not ongoing.
So using the mobile rims and the cameras, the new patrol approach, how do you see this over a long period of time? I was just wondering what the plan is to keep this level of park coverage going, because your staffing and resources are just going to fluctuate and change over time.
So this is also in part, we've been rearranging our patrol shifts, And as of May 11th, we've figured out how to isolate a sergeant, an officer, and an MLE officer to have a downtown patrol area that can be in conjunction with regular patrol, and so that we can rotate through the parks. And so this is an ongoing plan within the budget that I don't foresee any need that I have to pull off that. And I have plans to actually strengthen it so we can stretch further into parks, so we can get into MLK, we can get into some other areas that are desperately needing attention.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
So those three would be working together, right?
So, yes, the big plan is those three would be working together. I have one position remaining, and if that person comes on, that allows us to potentially staff a fourth. That would also be a traffic enforcement person, which we desperately need as well. So, using multifacets to accomplish many things with the least amount of resources.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
Okay, say that faster. Well, thank you so much. Appreciate you thinking out the box.
Yeah.
Yeah, very innovative.
Appreciate, one question I have is there a possibility of purchasing these items through a piggyback with other departments, or is it just a?
So yes, we've been talking with different departments. They're all interested in helping out. But as I've promised you, and I've promised everybody else, I will gladly accept your money when I can produce results. So until that time, we definitely have people interested in it. I just got to make sure I can deliver.
Right.
So
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any cards on this item?
We do not.
None? I think we just need to have direction to staff. I'm going to say.
Do we provide it?
Do it.
Yes.
Do it. You
Yes.
have consensus, sir. Thank you very much. That was item number 14. I expected a longer talk from our police chief, but I guess we got it all cleared away.
He condensed that.
Item number 15 looks like award of construction phase 2, design build entity for Corporation Yard, multi-building remodel and site build project. Boy, we got
Say
some
that again.
wordsmith here. 655 Come Oak. Mr. Caber, go right ahead.
Good evening again, Mr. Mayor and Council.
I'm good, I'll wait.
So this time I'm bringing you something back that is within budget. Last time was in October, where I wasn't asking for a award of it, but I was saying this is the true cost of the future. So went back to the contractor and said, we need to sharpen our pencils. Let's get down to brass tacks and let's get this thing done. We're there. In the staff report, I have highlighted what was in the October submittal and then what's in the new one. So for those who are new to this, I took out the admin building. That is no longer in the scope. I took out the vast majority of the site work. There's some minor repaving that's going to have to go on, minor trenching, but that's gone. All of the work now is focused on the mechanic shop. So we moved the locker room, moved the showers, moved some of the offices into the mechanics building, and then picked the additive alternatives that made sense and actually allow us to work in that building. Now, some of these we can do should extra money come available. I have them in a priority order. I haven't listed the priority order, but I know what they are. It would be the insulation, and then I would do the extra or the added low volt electrical, and then I would do the rolling gate. So right now I'm not doing any of those because we're coming just under the wire. Now this price is a guaranteed maximum price. Think of it as a not to exceed. However, all of the risk is on the contractor. So the only way this price grows is if we add work to them.
Okay.
The public works managers have reviewed this. They're good with the conceptual layout. Now it's conceptual, so the price here is also for design. It includes profit, it includes design, it includes material, it includes all the work.
Okay. Any questions from council? Any cards on this item? Oh, Councilman Goodson's in the queue.
Wow, this is just, I'm just disappointed. We're really at bare bones, and I can understand because of the financial constraints. So here's my question. What's the timeline to bring the remaining pieces of the corporation yard, like the administration building? That's a really huge one for me. And other deferred items back into the project. Are we going to piecemeal this thing? What are we looking for? What steps of or funding triggers do we still need before the whole build out is done?
This contract would address only what you see in the staff report and in the contract. So then
So we're looking for additional funding.
Yes.
And we are hoping, do we have anything in the queue?
I don't have anything in the queue.
Okay.
There's two, I think there's at least two things that are relatively big that are at least on our mind that should be priorities. Before we get to that, regarding the admin building still is functional. It's still nice. If you recall, the prior proposal that came forward had expansion and it had the conference room. Those were cut, but the functions, the locker room, the restrooms that were in there have been moved to the shop. So a lot of the things that were in the admin building have moved to the shop. So the shop is, the admin building still is a very functional, very nice facility. It was built for, I forget if it was like 15 years down the road. It had expansion already built in. We can do that if we get to that point. The two items I think that are most concerned to us are the fuel station and the wash rack. And both of those are, I think, in total maybe $600,000-700,000 to do that.
About that.
So those are things we're going to have to look for the resources to, and in the long run, obviously, it'd be nice to move those from the current location to the new yard, and then it really is fully functional. Obviously, in the future, as we grow, we can expand, but the office is much, I think it's safe to say, it's much nicer than the conditions that they are in now. It's a very nice.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's the shop will be fully functional. We're going to have places for all of our equipment to be stored and secured. There's a lot of positives about it. But you're right. The fuel rack and the wash rack and the fuel station are two things that are a concern of mine that we've got to figure out a way to get those over there.
Okay.
And
Go ahead.
are we looking those, or are we just kind of hanging out?
I think this is definitely phase one. We weren't going to come to the council and ask for more money. That's not because the fuel station, they're both still functional right now. The fuel station has a couple years of life left on it.
Oh, okay.
The fuel station has 3 years service
3 years?
life, but it can last beyond that.
Okay.
The constraint is moving that. Moving that will break it, and then it won't function.
But it does. We still can use it over there. It's obviously just not ideal to have the fuel station and the wash rack over there. So, we're going to have to find the resources to do that.
Okay.
Well, I think given the cost of fuel, we definitely need to move the fuel station, given that's about the only thing we can save ourselves with buying in bulk, because it's, well, I don't even need to talk about that one. That's crazy. Vice Mayor Smith is in the queue.
Thank you, Tim.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate all the work you've done on this, and I know that you put a lot of thought into this. A couple questions, and I'm sure you've thought this through well, and that is, so as you segue from the old corp to the new, and as you get in there, you're going to find things. Like, it's like moving into a new house. You just, didn't see that. So I think going at it very conservatively initially is smart. But with that, if you found that we have to have X, whatever it is, have you thought about how that might interrupt the services or the use of the facility, as you manage for some time 2 different locations, if I'm making sense?
The transition period, I don't think I can move over there during construction. There's going to be too much construction activity to safely occupy the admin building with our fleet that's in the back.
Right,
There'll-
and
there'll
that
be-
goes with that, right, and that's what where I'm going with that. So all this initial work, obviously, the contractor needs freedom of flow to do their thing. But then, once that's completed, then you're moving over, and these other elements that you're looking at, that, desired but excluded pieces, if then later on you find that we have to have that, how interruptive would that be to the operation once you're over there? So for an example, so I see that insulation, that, radiating heat from a metal building, that might become intolerable, and you might come back and say, our guys are dying, we got to have this, for an example.
We'll be able to work while that's being installed. We did that on the current courtyard. It had the evaporative cooling with no insulation, and we added that at a later date. There's enough room in the mechanic shop to where we can work around that, and we'll phase operations to where that can happen.
Okay, great, thanks.
All right, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved to approve the contract, right, that one, with United Building Contractors, Inc., and authorize the mayor to sign.
Second.
Call the roll.
Motion passed 4 yes, 3 absent.
All right, thank you all. Item number 16.
When do you anticipate construction to start, and how long?
We have to start designing it first, so I anticipate there won't be any shovel turning for about 3 or 4 months.
Okay.
You're at 3 or 4 months?
16, 9-month budget review. Oh, Ruth?
Yep, that's me. Good evening, Mayor Pittman and council members. We're looking at 9-month budget review tonight. Normally we do a mid-year review, but since we're into April, I did a 9-month review.
Can barely hear you.
There
you go.
Is it working now? Okay. So what you have before you are some budget to actual worksheets for the first 9 months of our fiscal year, which is really important to do as we move into the budget. It's really important to have a projection of what this year is going to be before we can adequately budget for next year. So your revenues, always every year I tell you that we've only have about half of our property tax because we're waiting for the next installment that's going to be coming around in May. And also our sales tax, we don't include July and August, so we only have 7 months of sales tax. So it looks like we don't have our revenues, still looking at 42% instead of 75 because it's 75% of the year's up, but we don't get those equally. So all said, it's on target, and there's really nothing there. I'm asking for a budget adjustment. So when you look at expenditures, we're looking for 25% of the budget left. We're looking for 75% used. We're looking for 25% left. So as I'm going down the list in the general fund, we are short in the city attorney, and that's something that happened last year as well, as we have litigation and things outside the normal scope of our attorney. I've under budgeted that, so I'm asking for a budget adjustment in the city attorney budget, and the amount is $158,000 to get us through the end of the year. And the next one is risk management, and this is another one that I just under budgeted. Every year I get the data in and do my estimate, but there's all kinds of complexities with our insurance, with banking layers and deposits, and so I'm asking for a budget adjustment for insurance of $279,000, $280,000. It's just under budgeted. And then in the planning and building departments, there's 4 budget adjustments I'm requesting. It all nets to 0, and it's all due to personnel budgeting versus consultant. We had thought at the beginning of the year we would have more personnel and being able to cut the consultant budget, but it didn't really happen. So all of the planning and building budget adjustments I'm asking for net to 0. And Then I'm asking for museums. So museums, this is the first year that it was a full year that has broken out of the Parks Department. It was part of the Parks Department until this year, so I under budgeted utilities by a lot. So I'm asking for $23,000 to get us through the end of the year in utilities in the museum budget. And then I'm asking for a transfer, interfund transfer of $1.3 million to the Capital Projects Fund to move the Cal Oak allocation out of the general fund. That way, it's already there in the Capital Project Fund, ready to go. I don't have to ask for a budget adjustment next year when we go to pay for it. And also don't have to put it in the next year's budget, it's just done. And there's also going to be $442,000 coming from the sewer fund to make up the 1.770. That's the total allocation that we have left for the Cal Oak project. And then the last budget adjustment I'm asking for is $87,000 to the recycling fund. This is moving the recycling out of the code enforcement budget and isolating it out into recycling. That way, if there's a lull in the grants, then it all comes out of recycling fund, not code enforcement budget. So those are all the budget adjustments I'm asking for. Other than that, everything looked like it was on target and moving good. I was able to meet with all the department heads and discuss the budget, and we ended up going through a lot of encumbrances, and we closed some contracts that were no longer relevant. So there was a lot of cleanup done and a lot of good work done. And the next thing on my staff report is debt. So every year I tell you how we're doing as far as debt with the city. We owe $15.295 million to our pension obligation bonds, and we owe $7.3 million to our successor agency bonds. Those mature in 2031. And that's all I have in my staff report. So if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Councilman Goodson's in the queue.
Yeah, I was just wondering, do you ordinarily under budget for specifically the attorney budget?
Yes.
And insurance?
Do I what?
And insurance under budget? You went under budget?
The last couple of years I have.
You have?
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
Intentional,
No, wishful thinking.
I just thought it was intentional, and I wanted to know why.
No, I actually am doing the best I can as far as estimates go, but we have a lot of extra litigation going on that blew it up, and then with the insurance we have just other things going on, and no, it's not intentional.
Okay, any other
Thank
questions from council? I'll add myself to the question. One of the things that it's kind of like a state unfunded mandate that we have to respond to, and I'm going to ask the city administrator to update us on our current dilemma, is public records request. And I think the public needs to know how many of those we get, and the fact that when these are done, what staff has to do to respond to those requests.
Yeah, so we've, the city implemented Next Request, which is a public records act request, the tracking software, which is it's a great tool, but it also makes it very easy for the public to make requests, which is great. We want the public to have the information that they need. Unfortunately, there's two issues that the city is facing, and we're not the only ones. It's there's a lot of bills out there right now being considered to, I'll call it PRA reform, but the two issues are, one is sheer volume. And last year, I think we got about maybe 400. It's a little over one a day, or not quite that much. Maybe it was 300. Okay. And we're anticipating right now the last couple of months, our numbers in comparison to last year have doubled. So we're tracking to be probably over 450, 500, maybe even 600 right now, if trends continue. So there's that's one issue. Then the other issue is the complexity of PRAs. And in 2026 versus, let's say, 2020 or even 2010, there is a lot more data available. There's instant messaging, there's texts, there's emails, there's the magnitude of the data that can be requested. There's body cam footage. The sheer magnitude of the data is much more, which ultimately leads to, as requests are made, we have to find out, do we have responsive information to meet this request? And if we do, how much of it is it? And we have to review every piece of it.
Mm-hmm.
In some cases, that could be thousands and thousands of emails. So we're encouraging those that are requesting information to please tighten the scope of what you're requesting. We're not trying to hide anything, but we want to give you the information. However, what this is essentially it's becoming is an unfunded mandate from the state, because we do not have a Public Records Act request processing department. It's others' duties is assigned by staff. It's coordinated by our clerk. But we will be looking at very likely asking for some maybe contingency funds to start processing this right now, because right now we're relying on our city attorney's firm to help with this. And if we can do it in-house for less money, we would much rather do that. But we're also going to be looking at legislative issues to see if there can be some changes to help address just the magnitude and the volume, because there's some requests that are very legitimate, but some of them I question some of the thought process that's going on and for the magnitude and the complexities, because we've spent thousands and thousands of dollars on many of these requests. So it's a problem right now.
Well, the other question that I want to raise too is that if someone receives the information, then it's their personal information, but could they possibly sell that on the commercial market and sell pictures and videos of things that are happening?
I have never heard of that. I mean, when we get a request, through one great thing about Next Request is we get a request, we'll send it to the requester, then it's on Next Request. So if someone else has that same request, hey, it's right here. It's on. You can go get that. So I don't think it would have much sellable value, but
Well, that actually falls into my department.
The police department does, but I'll just say this. So we do get requests from entities that sometimes claim that they're not making their request for commercial purpose. But we don't assert things like copyright protections over any of the items as a public entity. You don't do that with public information, because it's just the nature of the information is that it's already public, right? So there's no, kind of use control restriction over that. So generally, we just can't restrict it in that way. But we do have entities who ask for things like body cam video, and it is possible for them to use it in a commercial way. It's just that we can't really regulate that once the public information is out.
I'd like to hear from the police chief on that issue.
Sure.
That's the vast majority that I see the requests that I get for old crime files, body cams. It is directly to podcasters, crime show. It's, they put their statement, it's not for commercial, it's for public use and dissemination and that, but it's just for profit, crime shows, podcasts, whatever. Sometimes it's from lawyers looking for a reason to sue. Mm-hmm. So it's very rare that I get one that I see has some legitimate purpose too. Usually on those legitimate purposes, we're releasing it anyway because it has a nexus to community need.
Sure.
So that's all I got to say about that.
Councilman Goodson's in the queue on this topic.
I was just trying to have we explored all tools that we can incorporate, even with artificial intelligence, to minimize, reduce this workload?
There is redaction software out there that is great, and we do use it, and it will identify protected information, addresses, social security numbers, phone numbers, names sometimes, but it's still one of those things where if you don't review it with a set of eyes as well, things could slip through the cracks, and that's the biggest issue.
So you still need the human eyeball.
Yeah.
Wow.
The other aspect is when you do redact, and the city attorney when you do redact, typically there requires some sort of an explanation for that redaction, and if you are not aware of why it's being redacted, you can't honestly answer for that.
Yeah.
Oh, really? You can.
Correct. That's part of some of we're limited in some exemptions in certain areas, but when we do some of these exemptions, we're required to give them a reason why we're redacting that information.
Otherwise, I think it could be interpreted
Trying to hide
you're
information.
withholding information, exactly.
Right. Okay.
So it's a challenge,
Yeah.
and it's something we're going to have to look at here in the very near future, and possibly look at if the trend continues, we're going to have to look at it in the budget cycle as well, because it's, again, I'd rather, if we have some skilled folks in-house that could help with this versus, no offense to our law firm, but it would be more economical to do it in-house if we can do it.
Thank you, Ruth. I added that little component, but I think it's important the public understand that, yeah, we're doing our job, but at the same time, we have unfunded issues that we can't charge for, but we're spending a lot of time and effort on.
I'm on a roll.
Okay, are you on item 16 or a new one? What item?
No, I just wanted to ask because Nancy does a lot of work.
Yes, she
And so I was just curious what your thought process is on that.
On what was that?
On
net requests?
Yes.
Well, the workload is a lot, especially when you try to redact, because you have to look through every page. You have to make sure that, engineering stamp is not being given out, because every page that has an engineering stamp, we can't give those out. And we had to redact each page, and then we had to look carefully, and names, phone numbers, social security. It's just very confidential. And, if they ask for, a business license, that's public record. But then we can't give out, the phone number or the address. We can give out the license.
So it's like
and stuff.
HIPAA.
Yeah, it's like HIPAA.
Confidentiality,
It's like
okay.
HIPAA confidential. Like we could provide it, but we can't give you the person's name for that address. Like you're asking for that address, but we can't provide you that person's name. And it takes time because sometimes, they ask for a variety of time, like, from 2000 till now. So can you imagine 2000 till now?
Right. So it's not something that can be done within that 10-day time frame.
Yeah, it's not
always.
something that you're like, 3 days I could do that, 1 day I
Okay.
could do that. It depends on how much they're asking for. It depends on how long that business been there, or how much reports that's been done through that address or that
Wow.
place.
It sounds like a lot.
And when I was helping with Kayla, it was just literally just my job doing that, redacting, contacting department, making sure that everything they're giving is what's given. Because if we losing one paper, we're on the stand where Dave comes in and be like, we'll provide you more information.
Okay.
Because they're very smart. The public's very smart, and they'll come and be like, no, I remember this too. So we had to dig deeper. We have to look both ways. Like we can't just provide them something and then close it. We have to make sure what we're providing is accurate and it's complete what they're asking for.
So I knew you would know. Ask the expert. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yes.
All right, folks, any other questions on the budget review? Not,
I'll make a motion to approve the state budget adjustments for fiscal year.
I'll second that.
call the roll.
Motion passed 4 yes, 3 absent.
All right. Next item, 17, purchase of 5 patrol vehicles. Chief.
All right, so first off, I just want to make sure that I'm not asking for any additional money. This is something that's going to be worked into the budget. This is something that we're trying to do anyway, is every year budget for a set number of vehicles, so that just remains a constant for us. So, but what we found, and it's normal in any position I've had with ordering, is you order in July, and it takes forever to get the cars. So for instance, what we ordered in July, I'm still waiting for my last 2 vehicles. So in talking with the dealership, if we can get on the pre-order list, then we can go to the head of the list. So in that summertime when the vehicles get released, we're on the pre-order, not the post order, and we're hoping to shave a few months off of the delivery.
And dollars.
I'd like it to, but I don't know that it. Well, yes, if the prices
Right.
increase, yes, we're
Right,
locked into
which is
it.
inevitable.
Correct. Yes, we have the bid. We're going in on that one, but we're not going to be billed until post July, post new fiscal year.
And
But we'll be
this
billed
is
at
We will be billed. This will be the locked-in
Right,
price.
it'll be the locked-in
We
price.
still will not receive the vehicles early in July because it's just no car. But maybe September, October, November versus March, April, May.
Right. And this is due to additional staffing, right?
Correct.
Okay.
We're still staffing up, but like last year, you guys helped me out tremendously with getting the vehicles. Now, we're one position down.
Right.
So we can now work it into our annual program.
Okay.
So I move that we approve.
Oh,
second.
call the roll.
4 yes, 3 absent.
All right. We actually have hearing of non-agenda items, second public. Do we have any cards?
We do not have any cards.
Okay. Just noted, we have correspondence from the fire department statistics, city clerk monthly report, the PG&E notice about a rate increase from the CPUC, and another rate increase for the Diablo Canyon power cost recovery coming up. Any future agenda items from council? I'll make a note that Monday morning is orientation for the next class for the Lineman College, 110. Starts at 7:30, and we've done a nice welcoming to the students. And
Good lordy.
Well, let us know how that works.
I was gonna say I'll be there.
They're lining up at 7. I think it actually starts a little after 8.
yeah, they start lining up at 7:30, but by 8, there's a good time to be there. And they are trying to expand that facility. It's Monday morning, 8 o'clock at the Lineman College, and they also own the other part of the building now, so they own the whole thing, and that'll be something they're planning to put their entire graduation ceremony in that building, which would be a big help because now they have it at Neighborhood Church in Chico, and it's a full house. I attended last Friday before last, and if you ever get a chance to go to the graduation, there's energy in the room is outstanding. It's a neat thing, but the new corporate officer for Quanta was there at the graduation and mentioned a couple things that they now own that, but the expectation for the next 10-year projection is a need in the United States of 1 million gigawatts of power. And if we're not getting that built in right now, we're going to be way behind the curve. The benefit, though, is the folks that were in that room, they have picked a good career path, because when you need 1 million gigawatts of power in addition to the existing grid. So that's a big, if you're looking for a career path, that definitely is a career to get into. Other than that, I am going to call this meeting be adjourned to the next special meeting of the City Council will be held on April 25th, 2026 at 5:30, which will be the State of the City presentation.